How are you feeling? How long have you been here?
3 months, May 17th.
And what brought you?
That's difficult to answer.
Eventually resulted in your being here in the hospital.
That's difficult to answer.
the end. There's a noise inside my head of crying people facing death. Is this the end? Is this the end? I'm burning in the stone. There's no place to hide. I'm burning in the stone. This is the final fight. What have we done to the world? What have we done to the world? I'm burning in the stone. There's no place to hide. I'm burning in the stone. This is the final
Okay, listen. Okay, listen. I know it's 12:30 in the morning. I know I should be working right now. I know, Reagan, I know. I was working on going through my ship from Boston and getting that together and a couple other things. I was being very, very diligent. And then I took a break. And then I took a break for a brief moment. And I went on Twitter and I was trolling around people's Twitter feeds. I was trolling around the typical classical liberal bullshit con artist Twitter feeds, as I am known to do. You want to know why? Because they're funny. I was being productive too, Reagan. I swear I was, you know what? Listen, this is an emergency, Reagan. This is an emergency. Okay? It can't be helped. So I was trolling around the Twitter feeds of the classical liberal Zionists who want to censor everyone's speech if they're anti-Semitic. And does anyone remember Karis Ray? Karis Ray is a Jewish cunt. And I'm not saying she's a cunt because she's Jewish. I'm saying she is Jewish, which is good and noble. And we love Jews on this channel, and there is no anti-Semitism allowed. I'm not saying she's a cunt because she's Jewish. I am saying she is Jewish, and then completely separately from that, she's an evil cunt. Completely separately. It's really a shame. Most Jews are wonderful people that would never do anything underhanded, and I really do mean this. We love Jews on this channel. No anti-Semitism allowed. Bagels are the best food ever invented. The Holocaust was the worst thing that ever happened. Hitler is burning in hell. Worst person in the history of humanity. No less than 10 million Jews died in the Holocaust. Not a single Jew less. And if you say any less than 10 million Jews died in the Holocaust, you are a raging anti-Semite. Gas chambers definitely have wooden doors. We should be sending all of our money to Israel. More Americans should go to die in the war in Iran on behalf of Israel. Trump just basically announced that was going to happen tonight. So, I fully support more Americans dying for Israel in Iran. I think this is a great idea because we love Jews on this channel, guys. I truly, but sometimes people are Jewish and they're also cunty. And Karis Ray is one of those people. Karis Ray is this Jewish woman who challenged me to a debate on Twitter. And then I said, I will debate you anytime, name the fucking time. And then she chickened out and wrote these big long posts about why she couldn't debate me. And then she blocked me on Twitter. And this was a long ass time ago. She's really fucking dumb. And I try not to pay attention to anything she says, to be honest, except that I saw it by accident when I was looking at someone else's Twitter feed. Okay. And I don't really care about what she's saying so much. As I was focused on the video in the feed, the right's crossroads, anti-Semitism, and the far right. And there's James Lindsay, and there's Seth Dillon, and there of the Babylon Bee, and there's Karis Ray. So I was like, what the fuck is this? I was like, what is this? Where is this panel? And is there a video of this panel that we can watch immediately? Because this is an emergency. If there is a full video of this session, I have to watch it. I have to. And I have to do it right now because we've got important shit to do tomorrow. We're going to do Antifa propaganda tomorrow. I am not going to stop the week streaming to watch James. I want to keep Friday open. I just want to do it now. I feel like this can only take place as a nitwit stream at midnight 30. After I'm already high. I feel like this can only happen when I am on drugs. Obviously, I'm kidding. When I am definitely not on drugs on the internet at 12:30 in the morning. Obviously, I would never do drugs. Don't do drugs, all that stuff. Drugs are bad, whatever. I was like, I have to do it. And so then I went on a mission and I was like, I have to find the video of this fucking presentation. And I did. I found it. I found the fucking full video. I found the full video. Yeah, drugs are the worst, actually. No one should do drugs ever. So we are gathered here today for a very deeply important task of laughing at James Lindsay and the Babylon Bee asshole, Seth Dillon, because this is going to be fuck off hilarious. And you all know this is going to be fuck off hilarious. Like, everyone knows. Everyone knows this is going to be awful and cringe and so fucking boomer, and just like, you guys know, like, 1 in the chat if you agree with me that this is going to be as good as I think it is. 2 in the chat if you think this is a big waste of time and you're going to go to bed. 1 in the chat if you agree with me that this just has the potential to be the funniest shit we've watched in a long time. 2 in the chat if you think this is a big waste of time and you're like, Karlyn, it's almost 1 a.m. Like, literally, what the fuck? Yeah, it's just, well, yeah. You see, Seeker understands the severity of this situation. So here's what we're going to do, guys. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to watch this here presentation. And oh shit, that wasn't what I wanted to do at all. Share my screen. Take 2. We're going to watch this presentation, and just for good measure, just because I know you guys love this, we are putting Whatnot above my head so I can watch my Whatnot show with Blazendary, who is basically, Blazendary right now on Whatnot is like my favorite streamer. I want to just spend all my Whatnot money with Blazendary. I'm just like, I didn't like this guy at first. I was unsure about him. And then I started watching him and he had like the best stuff on the whole app. And now I can't stop watching him at night. So we're putting Blazendary up above my head so I can see what he's auctioning as we watch the anti-Semitism stream. Okay, that's what we're gonna do. I don't want to hear any complaining about it or making fun of him for him looking like the ShamWow guy or anything like that. He's fucking awesome, and you will show some respect. That man has provided me with luxury goods that I value and treasure. Okay. So, yeah, okay. Is everyone ready to go? Let's just jump right in. We don't need to do a big, long preamble. Like the video if you feel like it. Let's go.
So we're up for a panel discussion now. I asked the panelists to come up as I call their names. Karistria is an American political commentator and
Not
former
really.
producer at the Epoch Times and Newsmax. She's a
The
rising
Epoch
leader
Times,
at the
no
Global
shit.
Liberty Institute, and she's currently working on a book about right-wing identity politics. Please, Karis,
She's
join
writing
us
a book
on
about
stage.
it? That dumb bitch is writing
It
a
is
book
my
about
pleasure
this?
to call on Seth Dillon. I gather people here know what the Babylon Bee is,
Bro.
and if not, you will soon learn.
Oh my
please join us.
God. Oh God, listen to the music.
Pastor Dunsani Washington is the founder and CEO of the Institute for Black Solidarity with Israel, an institute dedicated.
The Institute for Black Solidarity with Israel. The Institute for Black Solidarity with Israel. Just again, please.
Join us. Pastor Dunsani Washington is the founder and CEO of the Institute for Black Solidarity with Israel, an institute dedicated to strengthening the relationship between Israel, the Jewish people, and people of African descent through education and advocacy, and also a professional musician. And James Lindsay is a leading cultural critic and intellectual who, along with Peter Boghossian and Helen Pluckrose, perpetrated some of the most vicious hoaxes on faux academic postmodern journals. We'll hear about that too. I mentioned Hitler. I mentioned their Mein Kampf essay for a feminist journal, which was accepted. Imagine that. His analysis of woke pseudo-academic theories was published in Hebrew, and it was a pleasure to host him here in Tel Aviv not long ago. We shall hear those distinguished guests on the topic of right-wing anti-Semitism.
Oh my God.
So, a pleasure, lady and gentlemen. Dunsani, I'd like to start with you because one of the most worrying things is what is happening with the rift within the Christian community in the United States. And we've all seen Tucker Carlson's vicious attacks on evangelicals and other Christians. How and why did this emerge, in your opinion?
Well, in terms of why it happened with Tucker, he could only answer that. The timing of it, though, is what I can barely speak to. Tucker, for whatever his reasons are, with his anti-Semitism and anti-Zionism and his attacks, particularly on Christian Zionists, he said that he hates people like myself and Johnny Moore. He hates Christian Zionists. Why he's doing it, I mean,
I hate Christian Zionists too, if I'm being...
What's happening, however, is that...
Wait. Okay, we need to do a poll. I need to see where everyone stands. 1 in the chat if you hate Christian Zionists. 2 in the chat if you think that Christian Zionists are great. 1 in the chat if you hate Christian Zionists. 2 in the chat if you think Christian Zionists are great. Yeah, I don't think Tucker's alone here. I don't think Tucker's alone here. Christian Zionists are annoying as fuck.
It is.
And we're allowed to think that, by the way. We're allowed to fucking think the Christian Zionists are annoying as fuck. We're also allowed to think that black liberationists are annoying as fuck. It's not because you're black. It's because you're doing some fucking socialist social justice bullshit because you're black and because you're aggrieved about that. Maybe because you haven't been as successful as you want to be in the world. And so you're making shit up to have a fucking social justice movement. And then you're saying, you know, that if you don't support them, you're like racist or whatever the fuck. It's not because you're actually black. It's because you're doing messed up stuff.
Resonating with those, as Reverend Johnny Moore just said, those who are insecure, those who are looking for a reason that something is the problem, and he's tapping into that. And I'll just say this as an opening. We have said in our organization, he is probably the most dangerous anti-Semite in the United States, taking that title away from Louis Farrakhan. He is the white conservative Louis Farrakhan. If you look at their book,
Did he just say that Tucker Carlson is the white conservative Louis Farrakhan? I need to rewind that. I'm sorry. I'm not sure I heard what I just think I heard.
Literally on Christian Science, he said that he hates people like myself and Johnny Moore. He hates Christian Scientists. Why he's doing it, I don't. You have to talk to Jesus about that. But what's happening, however, though, is that it is resonating with those, as Reverend Johnny Moore just said, those who are insecure, those who are looking for a reason that something is the problem, and he's tapping into that. And I'll just say this as an opening. We have said in our organization, he is probably the most dangerous anti-Semite in the United States, taking that title away from Louis Farrakhan. He is the white conservative Louis Farrakhan.
Oh my God. Tucker Carlson is the white conservative Louis Farrakhan to these people. Okay.
If you look at their bullet points where Israel and Jews are concerned, they're identical. He's just appealing to the other side of the aisle. So that's part of what's going on with Tucker and why it's gaining traction with some.
Yep, that's why. Yep.
James, we've had a previous discussion. You have an analytical perspective on why. Why has this emerged under the large interfaith umbrella of MAGA? Suddenly, these forces who are undermining American conservatism. Why?
So before I address why specifically, I want to put a frame around what this is. Some of you will know that I have this term that I've made popular, the woke right, and I've given an analysis of this concept of woke for a decade or so, and it's a complicated philosophical topic.
Is
I tend
James
to be a
getting
little
fatter?
heavy.
Is that a great freeze frame or what? I'm taking a picture of that for later. Is James getting fatter? I think James is getting fatter. Isn't that funny, James, who has called me fat on the internet? How many times has James Lindsay called me fat on the internet over the course of the last several years? And now, oh, all of a sudden I'm losing weight, and oh, all of a sudden James is gaining weight. Oh, looks like James is gaining all the weight that I'm losing. Isn't that funny? Isn't that funny, James? Isn't that funny?
But I think we can boil this down. What this comes
James
to,
is
what is
gaining the
woke in
weight
a
I
practical
lost.
sense, is this politic of friend and enemy, as it could be called, a friend and enemy distinction of politics, where there is a group of people who are designated as friend because they feel similarly alienated and oppressed, and they develop a grievance and an envy-based view of friends and enemies. Of course, I don't have to tell an audience in Israel at an anti-Semitism conference that sometimes there are enemies. You're all very aware that there are enemies. But there's a difference. When you believe that your enemy is your enemy because you are envious of him, because you have grievances against him, that's a different mindset. And so this politics of friend and enemy appears in the woke on the left, whether it was BLM with Black Lives Matter. If you didn't agree with them, you were a racist. So the enemies were called racists and the friends were called anti-racists. In the People's Republic of China under Mao Zedong, Mao called them very bluntly, the people and the enemies of the people. And if you were the enemies of the people, you would have the people mobilized against you, or they too would become the enemies of the people. So you have this logic of hatred and destruction. The Nazis, of course, use this same idea. The fascists use the same idea. You're either with us or against us. That's what fascism means. And of course, in radical Islam, there is a concept in Arabic, the al-bara, which is loyalty and disavowal.
And Israelis and Zionists literally censor anyone who is against Israel on social media. And they call you anti-Semites, and they try to cancel you and debank you and get all your social media taken away. Never brings up that though, does he? Look at that. Look at James has more of a chin than I do now. Oh shit. Hang on. I gotta take a screenshot of this. We're gonna send this to Musican. That's a meme waiting to happen right there.
That metastasizes through the Muslim Brotherhood and that Bolshevik ideology of Islamism. And this idea is that the friends are the people who are united in their alienation and in their grievance against this politics, against this society that they believe cheats them, oppresses them, robs them of their opportunity. And the enemy has to be destroyed so that the friends might be able to survive. So why has this happened? The reason that this has happened is because we've been operating under this logic, thanks to the left, the woke left, then the Marxist left, for many years. We've operated under this logic, and it's contagious. We've started to adopt it ourselves. The reaction to a friend-enemy distinction, a war between tribes, red and blue, A and B, left and right, is more tribal.
Do you know what this is? Do you know what this is? Do you know why James won't debate anyone? Oh my God, look at that. You can really see the double chin now, Jimmy. You can really see the double chin now. Do you know why James won't debate anyone about his ideas? Because what James does, James is the college professor that isn't really that good at teaching their subject and doesn't really understand it all that well, but they just talk and talk and talk and talk and talk and just like they're really good at just making shit up on the fly, and they just do that over and over and over and over and over again, and they don't let anyone else talk, so they sound like the expert because by comparison they aren't allowing any other ideas into like the intellectual sphere. He is the very definition of someone who basically like just bloviates as a professor but doesn't actually understand the subject that they're teaching. But people who don't understand, they don't know that, and it sounds really smart to them. Yeah, he stole all his ideas from other people, including me, by the way. James stole all his ideas from other people, literally going way, way back years and years and years. The very idea that he spread around that I wanted to sleep with him, it's disgusting to like a degree that I cannot even explain. Can you that's the, oh God. I don't even want to think about that. Why'd you even bring that up?
We've adopted it for this reason, and what has happened is President Trump threw a monkey wrench in the entire operation. President Trump came up with MAGA, Make America Great Again, which is spread around the world as a concept that we're going to do things differently than this left-right paradigm, that we're going to step out of having the friend-enemy distinction imposed upon us by the left, and elements around the world that do not want that movement to be able to succeed have said the MAGA movement.
We got another one. We got a fucking another one. We got another one. Thanks, MacP, for the super chat. Why is James giving lazy school principal? I think that's a great question. I think that's a great fucking question.
Must be destroyed. And this is why.
You know, listen. Did I just get a better one? Did I literally just get a better freeze frame than the previous freeze frame for the double chin? You know what? Here's the thing. I always told myself as I knew I was losing weight and I knew how thin I was going to get, and I'm going to get way thinner than this, by the way. I haven't even peaked in terms of my weight loss yet. I have a whole fucking vision for how this is going to go. Anyway, it takes time though. I can't snap my fingers and do it in a day. But like, when I started losing weight and I started realizing how much my physical appearance was starting to change, I said to myself, I'm like, Karlyn, you're not going to be one of those people that starts calling everyone fat now. You can't do that. You can't be that person. You really can't be that person. And as a general rule, I don't want to be that person because in general, I truly don't give a flying fuck what other people look like, right? But I have to say, for people that have gone out of their way to make my life difficult, for people that have gone out of my way, oh, Master Shake, I'm so glad you're here. For people who have gone out of their way to call me fat all over the internet, to people who have gone out of their way to lie about me and smear me and defame me and do all sorts of fucked up shit, I am abso-fucking-lutely calling them fat. I'm going to call James fat every fucking chance I get. I'm going to rub, and like every single one of the people that was harassing me who's now gaining weight, Carrie Smith, don't think haven't noticed that you're fucking gaining weight too. I'm going to drag all of them as much as possible, like on equivalent with what they did to me for fucking years. And I don't care. I don't give a fuck what people think about it. You get what you fucking deserve.
The MAGA movement, which represents people seeking truth, that represents people seeking freedom, liberty, even God, has to be destroyed, because if it's successful, the friend-enemy politics that they use to leverage from left or from right, one time after another to get their opportunities, will go away. So they've seeded the American right with the most divisive issue that you could possibly have, which is anti-Semitism. As Reverend Moore just said, evangelicals will not go with.
Why is anti-Semitism the most? Why is anti-Semitism the most divisive issue you can have? What makes anti-Semitism so much worse than, like, I don't know, every other fucking divisive issue? Why does anti-Semitism get to be the most superior divisive issue, James? Is it because you're paid by Jews? Oh, right.
Them, and they know this. So they can split the right into those that will and that those will not. So you have the one team and the other, and they fight no longer working together. And they can undermine President Trump's vision. They can undermine the resurgence of a true freedom-oriented politic, and they can advance their agenda back on the friend-enemy distinction. And I'll just add one last point. This distinction, if we look at loyalty and disavowal as the phrasing, friend-enemy, it doesn't matter. That was the Nazi phrasing from Carl Schmitt. Always ends up including anti-Semitism, not just because it's a useful tool to split coalitions, but because the loyalty of the Jewish people is to their God, to their memory, their community. So they will not be loyal to a regime. So when the regime declares the enemy, the Jew will say no.
The loyalty of the Jewish people is to their God, their something or other, and their community. So you're saying that Jews will never put America over Israel, James? Thank you for that clarity. Another great phrase from
split coalitions, but because the loyalty of the Jewish people is to their God, to their memory, their community.
The loyalty of the Jewish people is to their God, their memory, and their community. Not to their country, if their country happens to be America, their community, which happens to be, I don't know, Israel.
So they will not be loyal to a regime. So when the regime declares the enemy, the Jew will say no, along with the evangelical beside him, for the same reasons. They will say no. So they become enemy by default and must be destroyed. Destroying them from a position of weakness is impossible, so they must first be dehumanized, demonized, and that's anti-Semitism. So it is the first step in a broader project of imperialism to take over those who will not submit their freedoms.
Seth, I mentioned the article you guys. Lindsay, I mentioned the article that you guys submitted to a feminist journal, in which you took a chapter of Mein Kampf and you replaced Jews with men and Germans with women, and it was accepted. So obviously the erosion of standards opens the door. And for years, we've been writing, we thought that anti-Semitism is now more prominent on the left because it's mainstream there. And we thought these were only lone wolves on the right. And we had an explanation why post-colonialism was hostile to Zionism and all the rest of it. And
wait. Okay. The left isn't even anti-Semitic. The left doesn't care if people are Jewish. The left believes Israel are the settler colonists who stole land. It has nothing to do with them being Jewish. It has to do with them stealing land from the Palestinians. That's what the left actually believes. There's not fucking anti-Semitism on the left. But what is actually very funny to me about this is, I mean, can we just be honest for a second? There is obviously anti-Semitism on the right. There is. There's obviously anti-Semitism on the right. Now, that's not to say that anti-Semitism on the right is as prevalent as these people would have you believe. That's not to say that everyone who is called an anti-Semite on the right is actually anti-Semitic. That's not to say that you're anti-Semitic if you don't support Israel. I don't believe you are anti-Semitic if you don't support Israel. But we have to be very, very honest about this. There absolutely are a ton of like very, 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 very real anti-Semites on the right. Okay? There are. And that's been true for a long ass time. So why did these people just discover that? Why did these people, like, they're claiming that they were focused on anti-Semitism on the left? I'm sorry. It was the Jews and the fucking Zionists who were funding all of the woke social justice bullshit that was indoctrinating the leftists in college in the universities. Am I being crazy? Am I making this up? It was the fucking Zionists that were funding the woke programs in universities that were indoctrinating the students. So if they were oh so sure that the left was filled with anti-Semitism, then why were they funding all the shit that was supposedly creating anti-Semitism? Now, again, I don't actually believe it was. I think the left hates Israel for a completely different reason, because they took the land from the indigenous Palestinians. That is what the left believes. They're settler colonists. The left hates Israel for the same reason they hate America. It is about the theft of land from the indigenous. That is the core of the issue. It's not about them being fucking Jewish. It's about the theft of the land. But like, why on earth would they ignore? This is the real question. And I said this when these people were calling me anti-Semitic. I'm like, they're actual anti-Semites. Have you been on Gab? Have you been on Gab? Because I've been on Gab. And I've had people photoshopping my face onto that Jewish meme, the like merchant with the nose and all that shit. I've had so many people call me Jewish over the years. So many of those fucking people calling me Jewish, photoshopping pictures of me. By the way, I'm not Jewish, 0% Jewish. So if you want to check my 23andMe, I posted on Twitter a million times. I'm French, British, Irish, and German, and a little bit of Portuguese or some such shit, but 0% Jewish. Anyway, I'm just, not that there's anything wrong with that if I was Jewish, but I'm not Jewish, okay? But I dealt with real anti-Semites on the internet for fucking years. So the question I have is, why are these people focused on Tucker Carlson and Megyn Kelly and all of these influencers who are not, they don't hate Jews. They just don't like Israel. And they don't like the influence that Israel has on American politics. So why are these people focused on the podcasters when there are absolutely real anti-Semites on the right, that they could be holding up those anti-Semites and saying, these people hate Jews, and they would be right about that. So why aren't they focusing on the real anti-Semitism and instead focusing on these podcasters who don't want Israel to control American politics? Answer that question, and you will understand this little exercise. Yeah, it might be a touch inconvenient to them to focus on the real stuff when they could just make shit up for political gain.
We know the communist roots of that ideology. And suddenly we see it rise on the right. And I'm telling you, for Jews and for Israelis, this is a shock. We thought these people were our allies. We thought that the ideology which sees a world based on nation states is the ideology of the conservative right. And suddenly we see this among people who we believed to be our friends. Seth, you've been making jokes, mockery of wokeism on the left. Is this wokeism on the right? Is this a parallel phenomenon or a different breed?
Well, first, let me just say this is my first time in Israel, and I'm grateful to be here. I'm honored to be here. I've had a very warm welcome, although I haven't received the check yet that I was expecting for all those posts. What is it, 7,000 a post?
We Jews are very scrupulous about this, so maybe don't worry.
I leave tonight, so we'll have to wrap that up soon. So for those who aren't familiar, I run the Babylon Bee, the world's most trusted, factually accurate news source. We publish funny fake news like The Onion or CNN. You know,
I should have. I should have said this in the introduction.
Yeah.
The right has now carried the torch of humor.
Yeah.
Took it from the left. The Onion, which I used to admire, is no longer funny. You guys are on our following lists.
Yeah, well, yeah, we get more traction, more engagement, more traffic than they do now. So we've surpassed them. We're the biggest satire site in the world, which is pretty cool. But to answer your question about whether there's this wokeness on the, yeah, it's a mirror image of what was happening on the left for sure. I think it's the same oppressed dynamic.
And now all of the good Zionists who are getting paid by these people are doing exactly what they ridiculed the left doing for years and calling everyone a Nazi. And it's like, guys, this is why we just need to embrace being fascist. This is why, and listen, if you're watching and you support Israel, fine. I don't give a fuck. You're allowed to support Israel if you want to. But like, this is why we just need to embrace being called fascists. Honestly, we're called fascists by the left because we're not communists. We're called fascists or Nazis by the right because we don't support Israel. And so just fucking embrace it. It is what it is. Like, think of it as being like an outcast. Think of it as being like part of like some underground secret society or something. Like you're like the rebels. You're like you're the rebel fucking army of common sense in like a bastion of sanity for people who don't buy into the bullshit of either political tribe.
It's rooted in those grievances. It's seeking to scapegoat someone for your grievances and targets the Jewish people. It does often go under those euphemisms of elites or globalists or whatever, but it's often explicitly the Jews. It is a problem on the right. I've been criticized so heavily. I'm so thankful for people like James, by the way, everyone on this stage, several of the people that are here in the audience tonight who are courageous enough to speak out about this, because when you do get that pushback. You get a lot of people who are telling you, especially in conservative circles where I live and work and play.
Yeah, I heard Joe Barry.
You're not supposed to challenge anyone to the right of you. You're not supposed to challenge anyone on your side.
No enemies on the right.
No enemies to the right, because we can't defeat the left if we aren't unified and fighting against the left. And I think this is the most insane idea. It's a suicidal idea, honestly, because if you have cancer, for example, right? I did a full body scan recently, like one of these diagnostic scans, and I was very glad they didn't just check the left side of my body for cancer. They checked my whole body. And we have to be willing to do that. The Babylon Bee, of course, makes fun of the left. We made fun of wokeness for many years, but when we see, these evil ideologies arising on the right, not just going unchecked, but there's pressure on you not to.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I think censoring and canceling people because they refuse to support a foreign power is pretty fucking evil. And I think that, Seth Dillon is giving us the chance to follow the Babylon Bee playbook, which is to declare people. And by the way, here's the thing. Seth Dillon isn't on the fucking right. Seth Dillon is a classical liberal. He's on the left. James Lindsay is not on the fucking right. James Lindsay is a classical liberal. He is on the left. And so what they're really saying, they pretend to be on the right, and then they say, we can't possibly work with these actual conservatives. We can't possibly work with the people who have actual right-wing ideas because they don't have right-wing ideas. They are classical fucking liberals. They are liberals. That means they are on the left. They are not on the right. And so they are attacking people on the right because they don't believe in right-leaning ideas. That is not their value system. They are leftists. So if people can't understand this, I just don't know what to tell you. It's like they are overtly saying all these people who don't support Israel are our enemy and we must attack them. Okay, Seth. Okay, then you are my enemy, bro. And you are already my enemy because you're on the fucking left. You're not the worst person on the left by far. There are many worse people on the left, but like you are on the left. You are my enemy. James is on the left. James is my enemy. James has also defamed me massively many, many times, so he can like literally go fuck himself. But like, fine. You want to play this game where we're just canceling each other all the time? Fine. We are enemies then. We will treat each other as such.
challenge them, yes, we have a moral responsibility to mock that too. And so one of the ways that we confront these things is refutation, obviously. As C.S. Lewis, who said that good philosophy must exist if for no other reason than because bad philosophy needs to be answered. I think satire is necessary for the same reason. Satire ridicules bad ideas, and so that's what we do to try to challenge them.
Well, Seth, you are, one could make an argument that you are responsible for the election of Donald Trump. And here's how it goes. It's because of the Babylon Bee that was shut down by Jack Dorsey and banished from Twitter that Elon Musk decided to buy Twitter. How did that come along? And are you happy with the results?
Well, I actually bear some responsibility for the spread of anti-Semitism on Twitter, because now we have more free speech there. So apologies for that. But the answer to that isn't censorship. The answer to that is fighting back in the public discourse, in the public square. Confront bad ideas with the truth, with good ideas. The good ideas will prevail. We do need that free discourse, and not to just suppress and silence other voices. So I'm in favor of what Elon did. But what happened there was, we got suspended for doing a joke that we weren't supposed to tell. It was considered hateful conduct, and we got locked out of our account. And Elon was really upset about that because he had followed us. And he reached out to us and said, I can't believe you guys are suspended. This humor should be allowed. We should be allowed to make jokes, especially when these are terrible ideas that have to be challenged. We have to be able to speak and confront them.
Yeah,
maybe I just need to buy Twitter and take care of this problem. And so 8 months later, he walks into Twitter carrying a sink saying, let that sink in. And unlock the Babylon Bee.
And then he fucked Ashley St. Clair, who he was introduced to because Ashley St. Clair was working with the Babylon Bee. And then Ashley St. Clair became his baby mama. And then Ashley St. Clair went completely psychotic. And it's all the fault of the Babylon Bee that Elon Musk now has to deal with Ashley St. Clair as a baby mama and causing all sorts of drama and bullshit for him online.
So, he's restored free speech because he saw voices like ours being suppressed. So we're grateful to him.
And one might say he strategically bought Twitter and helped Donald Trump win the election. So I'm going to offer you guys a more political explanation for the rise of anti-Semitism, assuming that some people use it with no connection to the question if they believe it or not. Because one of the horrifying things is that it became useful. It became a useful tool. So there is a fight. Once we thought that MAGA and America First were one and the same. Now the American Firsters in MAGA have a new interpretation saying, no, Donald Trump is also the stooge of Zionism. He's not the isolationist we thought he would be. And if you want to be an isolationist, what you do is you first target Israel, America's closest ally, and say Israel is dragging you into wars. So, Carice, you are studying the rise of identity politics on the right. Is it a belief or just a tool?
Yeah, the question of what is motivating this, I think, is very complex because all of the possible motivations are at work here. You do have the grifters that are just going along for the clicks and the trends. You do have the true ideological believers. You do have the people that are paid by foreign actors. And
guys, you know what I'm going to say immediately if I do? Oh, this just sums up this woman in one image right here. This is like the summation of this woman in a single image. Guys, if I'm working on a serious academic study of anti-Semitism on the right, do you know what the first category of people I'm going to label is? Excuse me, they're just all a bunch of grifters, okay? They're grifters.
All of the possible motivations are at work here. You do have the grifters that are just going along for the clicks and the trends. You do have the true ideological believers. You do have the people that are paid by foreign actors. And it's really difficult to tell who's who. I would like to say, and also, it's really a pleasure to be on the stage with you, Gadi, for the second time. And I also love being the only Jewish woman in a sea of handsome Christian men. I think that since we all identify as conservative here, we can all agree, speaking to a room.
Not a single fucking one of them is conservative. I'm sorry. Again, Just because they say they're a conservative doesn't actually mean that they are. They are classical fucking liberals.
Full of Israelis or moderate and conservative Jews, that we are way behind on this fight. I think that that Jews especially believe that we can fight this using the language and the tactics that we are using to fight it on the left. But when you are speaking to a group of MAGA or America First conservatives, since apparently that's two different things now, we do not want to be using terms like hate speech or platforming. We do not want to be advocating for censorship, as Seth said, or content moderation. And I mean, Minister Chiefly, I love you from the bottom of my heart, but if you are talking to a group of America First conservatives, do not bring up Germany as an example with their banning of Holocaust denial and arresting people for hate speech. If we want to address anti-Semitic tropes and we're talking to populist right-wingers, we need to get people to understand that Israel is having more babies than any other developed country in the world, that Israel still has strong national pride, that masculinity and the warrior mentality is still valued. I mean, do you?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I was to understand that this was about fighting anti-Semitism. I was to understand that this was about combating hatred of Jews. But it seems to me to be more about convincing people that Israel is fucking awesome and that America should send Israel all of our money. What the fuck does Israel having more babies mean to me? What the fuck does Israel allegedly being more masculine? And I would question that characterization quite strongly based on the Israeli Jews that I've seen and known and all this stuff. I would just question that. I don't know that I've ever met a Jewish man, no offense, Jewish men. I don't know that I've ever met a Jewish man that I considered to be masculine, if I'm being honest about it. Most of them are like more hyper feminine than they are masculine. But as an aside, what the fuck does it even matter if Israel's more masculine? I don't give a flying fuck about Israel. I don't want to send Israel our money. Why are you trying to convince me to like Israel?
To get people to understand that Israel is having more babies than any other developed country in the world, that Israel still has strong national pride, that masculinity and the warrior mentality is still valued. I mean, do you really think conservatives care that Israel has the biggest gay pride parade in the Middle East? You know, so
they actually fucking should if they're conservative. And I say again, I don't give a flying fuck if people are gay. You want to be gay? I don't care. It makes no difference to me. Do whatever you want. But if you are a conservative on the right, you should absolutely care that Israel has the biggest pride parade in the Middle East. Because if you spend all your time bitching about the pride parades that happen in America, every single fucking June that we have a full month of bitching and fucking complaining about pride parades. That's all happening in America, but Israel can have the biggest fuck off pride parade in the Middle East and no one's supposed to care. That doesn't make sense to me.
We really have our work cut out for us. We need to be doing twice as much work now instead of just fighting back against the claims of apartheid and ethnic cleansing and genocide. We also need to read up about what happened in the USS Liberty, and we need to understand really what the Talmud teaches and how it's not actually hateful towards Christians. We need to be able to react to claims that, like you said, Israel is dragging us into wars, or Winston Churchill is the greatest villain in World War II. So we really need to start understanding that this fever, as Johnny Moore so aptly called it, spreads like wildfire, and we can't confront it in the same way that we have been used to doing when we confront it on the left.
Let me just explain what the reference to Churchill was, because this is a guy named Darrell Cooper. I think he calls himself Martyr Maid.
This is fucking insane. Guys, Israel hosted a conference to have a panel discussing people saying things they don't like on Twitter. Can we just really step back to like appreciate the fuck off insanity of this entire situation? Israel hosted a whole fucking conference in which there was at least one panel, and who knows what else was going on at this conference. We have the full videos. I guess we could watch. We're not going to do that, but like, there is an entire discussion about people saying things they don't like on Twitter. This is the Twitter panel. We do not live in a real world. We seriously don't live in a real world. The White House makes all its decisions based on what goes viral on Twitter. Countries are hosting entire conferences to discuss Twitter drama. It's like, this is why the left is winning and we're losing, because this is the reality that we're dealing with. In our reality, all people care about is what's going viral on Twitter. We're in a fucking video game. This has got to be a simulation of some sort. This is ridiculous.
On Twitter, and it's actually very illuminating. Tucker Carlson brought him on to say it's not the first time that the Jews are dragging America into wars. They also, the financiers around Churchill, they also dragged America into a war, which was a war for the Jews, and it's not clear who the villain of that war was and on which side. And this is a useful example because, look, attacking the Jews and Israel ends up attacking the defenders of Western civilization. Is that an argument that would be effective in the wild space of totally free speech, say on Rumble or on X?
When is this from? I think it's from a couple months ago. 2 months ago, January 27th.
Tani, your take on that?
Would it be effective for some? It depends on who the audience is, right? If you're talking about the foundations of Western civilization, if you're talking about founding documents, founding fathers, that type of thing, even the relationship with founding fathers with the Jewish community, yeah. For those who don't know any of those things, and this is part of the vacuum that is Western culture, particularly America right now.
Oh yeah, it's like
funny,
real
Hasbara.
Yeah.
There's the anti-Semitism is raising in the church because people don't know the Bible, and
anti-Semitism is rising in the church because people don't know the Bible. Hang on. I'm just going to get a timestamp here. 2/2/12/22. Okay, I'm going to send that to Amalek. Anti-Semitism is rising in the church because people don't understand the Bible. Hang on, let me just send this to Amalek while I'm thinking about it. Oh, God. How quickly can I find Amalek's Twitter? Not that one, the other one. His real Twitter. There it is. Okay. Real anti-Semitism is rising in the church because people don't understand the Bible. 2/12/22. You're welcome.
America right now, and it shouldn't be funny, there's just not a lot of education. The anti-Semitism is raising in the church because people don't know the Bible, and anti-Westernism is rising because people don't know the foundations of the nation, the type of thing. So, yes, to Karis's point,
he's probably sleeping. He goes to bed earlier than I do.
Right? Because I think you were saying earlier, the type of anti-Semitism that's happening on the right, it's happening in intellectual circles, it's happening on social media, it's happening everywhere. So one of the things that we were saying is that often Tucker Carlson becomes the lightning rod or the iconic figure, and for good reason, right? But the Marjorie Taylor Greens who wanted to outlaw people who are actually lobbying Congress for a strong U.S.-Israel relationship, right? And the Steve Bannons and then Jack Posobiec said long after Tucker had kind of busted that matrix open, you had conversations being had that were not being touched on at all. And part of the reason was because of fear.
This feels like this feels like a straight hostage situation. Look at all their This feels like a straight hostage situation, guys. I want everyone to like look at all their faces. Okay, look at all their faces. Does everyone have those faces burned into their memory? Okay, now watch this.
Touched on at all.
Look at his face. Look at his face. He's the one holding the hostages. Do you guys see this just from the body language? He is the one holding the hostages. These are the hostages. Do you guys see this? Hostages, hostage holder. Hostages, hostage holder. She's literally crying. Like, this is a hostage situation. I'm not even fucking joking. Yeah, they know. They know that if they fuck up, if they deviate from the talking points, he will hurt them. Oh, yeah, that guy's got skeletons. Oh, you fucking know that guy has skeletons. I mean, again, like, am I right? One, if I'm right. Two, if I'm wrong. One, if I'm right. Two, if I'm wrong about this being a literal hostage situation. Let me know what you guys think. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a lot of ones. Yep, obviously.
And part of the reason was because of fear. We said this before as well. This is what paralleled 10 years ago on the left, when it was Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib, and they were saying all these anti-Israel things. The issue wasn't just them. It was that the Nancy Pelosi's and the Chuck Schumers said nothing. Yeah. Fast forward to now, this is exactly what's happening now. Prominent figures on the right say nothing because they're afraid of Tucker. They're afraid of, and let me go ahead and step into this, TPUSA that still platforms Tucker, if I can use that word, and says nothing about the anti-Semitic, anti-Christian stuff that he's saying. This is the same danger.
We're running out of time, but a very brief follow-up question, Dimsani, because, you know, the civil rights movement was originally in an alliance with Jews, and then came the Black Power rights, the beginning of Zionism.
Why was my camera unplugged?
Colonialism with the rise of Malcolm.
Hang on. Did I just freeze? What the fuck? Can you guys hear me? I look frozen. Can you guys hear me? Oh no, did my internet reset or some such shit? You guys can hear me, but my camera's frozen. Something just happened on my computer, but I don't know why my camera's not working. Why isn't my camera working? You guys can hear me, but I'm frozen? The fuck? It stopped my other camera too. Oh, it stopped OBS? No, OBS is still going. What the fuck is going on? My computer seems to be overheating. My computer might actually shut down at any moment. Hang on a second. Hang on. Let me force quit some stuff. I think I might actually be out of memory. Like, legitimately out of memory. Force quit. We're gonna force quit some shit real quick. Force quit. Force quit. I think my computer... I think I just, like, actually pushed my computer to the brink. And my computer's like, no, Karlyn, we're not going to do that right now. Like, we can't actually do that. Yeah, exactly. I ran out of memory. Hang on. Force quit. I'm force quitting a bunch of shit. I'm going as fast as I can. Do I have 500 tabs open again? Yeah, I do. Yeah, I really, 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 really do. I may have to force quit Finder. How about real... Everything. I can't believe you guys can still hear me, though. Why is my camera shut off, though? Damn. Okay, maybe I'll have to shut off OBS. Okay, guys, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna briefly restart my computer. I'm gonna be right fucking back. I literally just need to restart my computer, okay? So I am going to be literally right back. We are at 2:14. Give me 2 minutes and I will be right back, okay? Okay, I'm back, but you guys gotta give me 2 seconds because I've got to pause a bunch of, like, videos that are making sound on my computer. Hang on 1 sec. Give me 1 second to figure this shit out, please. Okay. Okay, okay, I got it. Hang on, hang on, hang on, hang on, hang on. Sorry, sorry. Hang on, hang on. Oh, no. Got it. Okay, we're back. We're back. We're in business. We're in business. We're in business. Okay, I've muted all the browsers that were playing shit. Sorry for that brief disruption. Sorry, sorry, sorry. We're now going back and finding our broadcast for the night. Yo, I did that. You gotta admit, I did that real quick. I did that real fucking quick. We were back pretty quickly. Okay, we're back.
Than maybe some of the other ethnic groups, but it's not a majority, never has been. However, there's been KGB level disinformation focused at the Black community since the 1960s, so you would think it would be much higher than it is. So yes, to your point really quickly, yes, there's been a Black-Jewish synergy that goes back to the turn of the century because the NAACP, which is the oldest civil rights organization in the world, was created by Black and Jewish Americans, long before you even get to the civil rights movement of the 1960s. So that has always been the case. And oh, by the way, someone like the former mayor of Bloomberg just donates another tens of millions of dollars to HBCU medical schools because of the same mindset. That synergy continues on in the Black community. We're celebrating him for that and everything. So it is not gaining traction in the Black community. And I'll say this the last part of what's happening on the right is not affecting the Black community. It's affecting white conservative Christians, and this is part of what the whole issue is. And what's the message? The same free Palestine message that was infiltrated our community in the 60s is now white kids saying the same thing.
Oh, good. I'm glad he made it.
Astonishing. We're running out of time. So final comments and you can react to anything that anyone said.
I want to say something about this issue of courage, because this is really where we have a shortage, right? I think there's a lot more moral clarity on this issue than there is courage. People are terrified of someone like, challenging Tucker Carlson. If you're
the unironic part is I actually have an extremely powerful laptop. I just pushed my laptop to the very brink of what was accepted. It was really my own fault. I really did probably have too many windows open. That was, it was a misstep.
in our world means that he's going to start trashing you and attacking you personally. And he's got a lot of power and influence all the way up into the administration, the highest levels. And so when you're on the wrong side of someone like that, even if you're standing for something right, there's a consequence to that. It's terrifying to be willing to take that risk. I'm really appreciative of anybody who's willing to challenge these things in the face of that risk. And instead of platforming these voices and promoting them the way that Tucker is willing to challenge them. We have Dinesh D'Souza in the room tonight, today. He's confronting these things head on.
He will be speaking here in the afternoon.
There are voices like this who are out there. We need to support them, and their courage is contagious. It will spread to others. And so the more that we speak up, the more others will follow in our steps.
And that is a personal testimony. You have been targeted by some of these people with death threats.
Many.
And others. Yeah, so the problem is not the Tucker Carlsons, it's also the Megyn Kellys.
Can I say something?
Yeah, Tucker Carlson and Megyn Kelly are the biggest problem in the world. Sure.
What?
I think that especially here in Israel, people think that this is an issue that is kind of relegated to the realm of the groypers, and they really just know the names Tucker Carlson and Nick Fuentes and Candace Owens. But as people have been alluding to here, there are a lot of figures that they themselves are not necessarily anti-Semitic, but they're putting forth ideas in the right that serve as sort of a gateway drug into this conspiratorialism and also what I would call these post-constitutional ideas for America, which mirror the left in that they are neo-revolutionary and reactionary. And so I think we need to start being sensitive to other players in this. We need to really understand the doctrine of post-liberalism and what that means and how it can be used for good, but how it also can it's a very slippery slope and it can be used for evil. We need to understand the landscape of this. It's not just the groypers. We need to understand the paleo-conservatives and the libertarians and how Russia infiltrated these spaces.
So what you're saying is every single group on the right is the enemy except for Zionists. Is that what we're saying, Karis? That every single group on the right that doesn't want Israel to control American politics, every single one of them is the problem, except for Zionists. Oh, I want a burrito so bad.
After the Cold War and turned them very anti-Semitic. We need to understand the Christian ethno-nationalism that is brewing across the states and why that is happening. So there's a lot of elements to this, and
we need a 3-hour-long panel.
Yeah, and I mean, we need a whole day panel for this. Maybe one day there'll be a conference just about this. But it's important that we all have our antennas up to more than just the Tuckers and the Candaces.
Well, if Donald Trump is a great friend of Israel. To be honest, we're waiting to hear from him something clear about Tucker Carlson. It's time he says something. Yeah, James, please.
So just again on this word of courage.
The highest priority that Trump should have is denouncing Tucker Carlson. Guys, that is the most important thing. That is the highest priority. Trump must denounce Tucker Carlson immediately.
In this idea of that being the bigger lack that Seth points out, and all the things that Karis just brought up, I'll just say that the Israel itself and the Jewish people have something to offer here that's very unique, that's very easy to step into because you live it every day, especially here in the state of Israel after October 7th. It's that courage is proof of faith, and this renewal of faith and this renewal of courage comes very naturally here. So it's a very easy example to set and to talk about and to show why things are worth standing for. Here, the threat is imminent. The threat is physical. It is dangerous. In the US, it's insidious. But that courage shows that you care about something bigger than yourself, longer than yourself, timeless, more important than yourself. And that courage, like I said, is a proof of faith. And this is an opportunity that the Jewish people can lead in exactly the same way that they've led for, 3,000 years or something, by being who they are and showing the world what it means to live your faith and exhibit that it shows courage to do so.
Thank you very much. And if I may end with the words of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu in the Congress and elsewhere in the UN, we have to remain focused on the fact that this war, our war, is your war, he said to the United States and to Europe and to the Judeo-Christian civilization at large, because this is not a clash of civilizations. It is a clash between civilization and barbarism. Thank you very much, lady and gentlemen, James Lindsay, Pastor Sunny Washington, Karis Ria, and Seth Dillon. Thanks.
So that was what? That was 20 minutes? They only gave 20. Who the fuck did James bribe to be invited to this conference? Who the fuck did these retards bribe to be invited to this conference? I can't even, you guys. I can't even. Okay, well, you know what? I'm really glad that was so short because that means we're going to have a short stream. Obviously, my computer needs to be, like, I don't know, actually restarted and maybe taken care of a little bit better, considering it blew up literally in the middle of the stream. But you know what? I'm going to go take care of that. And that's all I really wanted to do. I wanted to watch that. I wanted to have an excuse to do it with friends on the internet because I knew that you guys would appreciate it. One in the chat if this was a good surprise late night stream. 2 in the chat if this was really stupid and you hated it. 1 in the chat if this was a really good surprise late night stream. 2 in the chat if it was really stupid and you hated it and I should have just stayed off the internet and, you know, been more productive. Yeah, James only wears full suits in Israel. Real. Okay, guys. I'm really going this time. I'm really leaving the internet this time. I'll see you guys in the morning. Take care. Have a good one, guys. We'll see you soon.
How are you feeling? How long have you been here?
influence my thinking and consequently my action.
What is it you're trying to do with your life?
Play the piano for people.
I'm not clear. How is it that playing the piano for people has eventually resulted in your being here in the hospital?
That's difficult to answer.